Hey, so today I'm just gonna do a video where I talk about a patch that I did. I think I called it Sparkles and Bloops with the Joranalogue Generate 3, which is the main, oscillator in this patch. Anyways, so yeah, I've never done one of these, but let's hope it goes well. Hope it makes sense. Hope you can tell what's going on. So I'm just gonna move the camera this way. Okay, here we are. This is the patch up close. Now, let's give it a quick listen. Yeah, here, gotta stop myself before I keep on going. It's a fun patch. It's got a lot going on, but really it's quite simple, I guess. It starts off with just a pitch sequence coming from the KeyStep Pro, which is down there. It's out of frame, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a repetitive little cycle that sounds, if I turned off the delay, like this. Oh, and clouds too. Of course, there's a little bit of reverb going on there as well, coming from the Korg NTS1, which I have at the end of the chain. Everything's just going through that. Quick, easy way to get a nice reverb, I guess. So, yeah. General signal path, we have a pitch sequence coming in for the KeyStep Pro. Alright, it's being multed up to two destinations, one to a sample and hold, we'll get to that later, and another straight to the Generate 3. So, the Generate 3 then goes... I'm using two outputs from it. The first one is the core output, so it's a triangle core oscillator. So this is just a triangle wave going into a wave folder, right? And then from the wave folder into a little mixer into the prism fed back into the mixer for some extra feedback and longer feedback time, or more feedback. I don't really know how to say it, but you get what I mean. And then finally clouds, and then out to you guys. Well, and then to the reverb. But yeah, so that's how it goes. So it's my main volume control thing you can use. Good stuff. So the way the Generate 3 is also, its VCA is being triggered is through maths, yeah. So using quite an exponential curve. So nice little articulation control from that. But the cool thing about this oscillator here, the Generate 3, is that not only does it produce a core triangle wave, it has what it calls the full output. Now the full output consists of the fundamental, the even harmonics, and the odd harmonics. And their levels can be controlled with voltage. So if I just turn them all down, so middle is here, down is in the middle because it's bipolar, and I killed the core, you shouldn't hear anything. A little bit leaks through, but once I start turning up these, I've got little triggers going into here, or little envelopes rather, going into the levels of these. And setting the knob tells it where to start the envelope at. So these little envelopes are coming at different times, consistent ones, but I think this one's every 3 beats, every 5 or 7 beats, and then 11 here. So the way it works is the core is at the lowest octave. The fundamental is just an octave above that. It is a sine wave. The even level is a sawtooth wave. Yeah, a sawtooth wave, an octave above the fundamental. Then on the same octave as the even, we have the odd, which is a kind of an M-shape waveform, but it sounds a bit square wavy. In any case, so I'm having them triggered at different times, so you get kind of a polymetric thing going on there, right? But the cool thing is, because they're all coming out of the full output, so they're all being mixed together, which means if there's enough overlap in the envelopes between the fundamental and even, or the even and the odd, or all three at the same time, then we get a different waveform, I wish I had an oscilloscope to show you guys, but yeah, you get some pretty cool stuff. So you mix them together with the core as well. Oh, let's do it here. And it sounds like you have like 4 oscillators running, but it's really just the one. Turn up the delay, and you get this nice, lush little landscape of twinkly sounds. So of course the fold is there, so you can actually make use of that for some extra timbral control to drive that core a little bit. It's also a handy way of muting it if you wanted to, but I just use the filter to kill everything at the same time. So Prism, great little filter. It's not just a filter, it's also a bit crusher, decimator, that's what they call it, and a delay. So with nice resonance, it's good stuff. Now I won't talk too much about clouds because everyone knows about clouds, but basically it's just a little granular effects processing type thing. It sounds pretty cool once you add it in. It's like some extra like random delay. Like it takes snippets of whatever audio is coming in and plays it back. It pans it left and hard right and all sorts of places, and you get this sense of stereo using it. So it's very good for quick stereo imaging of what's going on. So I'm gonna cue all this again. So next up we have the Dixie 2 here. So that's being our bass line. It sounds like this. Yeah, pretty simple bass line. But what's going on here? Remember we had the pitch sequence melted out. One of those melts is going into a sample and hold right here. So and it's being triggered by a trigger coming from PAMS, right? I think it's doing a Euclidean sequence, 4 triggers every 10 steps, something like that, or 4 triggers in 10 steps rather, right? And that's triggering a little envelope, this one. So yeah, articulation control over the bass as well. Yeah, and the output of the sample and hold, of course, is going into the Dixie 2, but I'm actually sending it through a quantizer as well because I don't have any buffered melts, and that's a kind of way to just make sure that this guy stays in tune, which is handy, good, useful for a bass to stay in tune. But yeah, you put them all together and you get the core of this patch. Now, you might be hearing every now and then the time seems to fluctuate a little bit. It does so every 30 beats or something like that. It's basically a tiny trigger, a pulse coming from PAMS, and that's just knocking the time knob up and then down again. So you get that cool effect when you jolt the timing on a delay. You get that pitch shifting weirdness. Besides that, yeah, there it is. A little bit of modulation from a little function here, just a looping LFO going through an attenuator here, and it's providing a little bit of vibrato. Should make you hear it pretty obviously if I turned it up. Yeah, I get that like detuned kind of vibe going on. Of course I keep that down a little bit, so it's less obvious. But yeah, that is the core of the patch. Playing with clouds for feedback and things like that. You know, fun way to add some drama to a patch that otherwise isn't very dramatic. So yeah, that's the patch. I hope this made sense. Yeah, for more detailed looks at any of these oscillators, go check out a DivKit video or something, because he explains the way they work really well. But this is just how I'm using all of them in context, I guess. Yeah, so that was the patch. I hope you liked it. I had a fun time making it. It sounded pretty good in my head, at least. Keystep Pro is over there, by the way. And yeah, it was a good time. Hopefully you learned something from it. And if this does well enough, maybe I'll do more of these in the future. I don't know. But if you haven't checked out the actual recording of this patch being played, performed, I link it down below, so you can watch it there. And yeah, have a nice time. Subscribe.